Hey there, and welcome back to the Encountering You podcast. I'm Laura Williams, and I'm truly grateful you're here today. I want to take a minute and wish all of you a Happy New Year. As we begin 2026, I am so excited to continue to grow this podcast community. Part of that is not only can you listen, but now you can watch these podcasts. I hope that this will welcome you into this space to join us for more meaningful conversations. If you're listening to or watching these episodes, you're curious about yourself and why you do what you do. And you're also seeking information to help you become a healthy version of yourself, a healthy human. It's one of my greatest desires to help cultivate a community of people who can be in strong relationships with each other while still maintaining their uniqueness. One of the things my dad sought after was peace. Even though he himself did not experience peace and his own trauma got in the way of creating a peaceful home for us, his heart was always interested in relational peace and understanding of all people. When I think of why I do what I do, most of my reason has to do with this. My truest heart's desire and longing is to help people understand themselves better and, in turn, others, so that we can all start to live in peace with each other. When I think about purpose, this really is mine. It is at the core of my spirit and the reason I get up each day and go to work. It's also how I parent, partner, and be human. And that's why today we're talking about something that sits right in the center of what it means to be human: purpose. As we step into this new year, when everyone is talking about goals and resolutions and becoming the best version of ourselves, I want us to slow down and look underneath all that. Not at what we should be doing, but at what we're actually longing for. The way I talk about it with clients sometimes is like when we're craving something. We think we're craving a candy bar or potato chips or a soda, but what we're really craving is something our body needs behind that. So a healthy choice is skipping the candy bar and going towards something that is good for your body. This is similar to our desire for purpose. The desire for purpose isn't bad. In fact, I think God puts our desires on our hearts. He creates each of us with something unique that directs our steps. Why else would there be so many different ways that we all contribute to society? However, most people live out of a desire, but what they are actually doing doesn't actually match, or they may not even know why they're doing what they're doing. Once people feel like they have some of the foundation of themselves settled through trauma work, we enter into the realm of purpose, and it is so fun. Why does purpose pull at us so deeply? Why does it feel so essential and yet such a slippery slope? And why does it matter for our mental health, our identity, our relationships, our spirituality, and even our physical bodies? We're going to explore all of that today. So let's all take a deep breath together and settle in. So, every January, where we are today, the world screams several messages. Fix yourself, improve yourself, heal yourself, set some goals, figure out your calling, optimize everything. And we internalize this. If I could just find my purpose, then I'll finally feel grounded. Then I'll finally feel like I matter. But here's the truth. Finding purpose doesn't bring worth. It is out of our worth that we actually find our purpose. I know that my old self, before counseling, would have been helping people with their mental health in order to gain worth and value in this world. Instead, today, I use my sense of value to know that God is using me for His purpose through me. But I have to know me in order for this to flow naturally. Purpose is not a self-improvement project. It's not a performance metric or a goal. It's actually a psychological need that comes from our sense of self. Purpose helps us thrive. And interestingly, research actually backs this up, right? A long-term study from Cornell University found that people who report a strong sense of purpose actually have higher life satisfaction, lower anxiety, and lower rates of depression, regardless of income, race, age, or marital status. Purpose literally impacts your biology. Another study showed that older adults with a strong sense of purpose actually had a 15% decreased risk of death over the study period. And that wasn't even from exercise or diet. It was all purpose. Purpose affects our stress hormones, our immune function, our cardiovascular health, our sleep, our longevity. So when we say purpose matters, it really does. Your nervous system knows when your life has meaning. But the problem is, our culture has turned purpose into pressure. And when purpose becomes pressure, we actually disconnect from that part of us that actually was leading us toward meaning. So before we go any further, just hear this. Your purpose is not something you achieve. It's actually something you remember. Purpose isn't floating out in space somewhere waiting for us to find it. It's actually rooted in the deepest parts of who we are and what we needed growing up. But the problem is, when we don't know ourselves separate from our family of origin, it's difficult to live out of our purpose. Kurt Thompson says in The Soul of Shame, which is a great book, everyone comes into this world looking for someone who is looking for them. It's the job of our caregivers to help reach into us and help bring our inner selves out. Unfortunately, this rarely happens. For those of you that have listened for a while, this will be a little bit of a refresher. But it's my belief that we are shaped around 6 core areas, right? We look at our attachment, we look at the way we esteem ourselves, we look at how our boundaries are intact, we look at how we hold reality, right? We talk about how we take care of ourselves, and we also talk about balance. Okay? And if these needs weren't consistently met in early life, we grow up with adaptations. Okay? And these are patterns that are meant to protect us, but that also makes purpose harder to feel and find in our lives. When we're not attached to our authentic self, it makes finding purpose pretty elusive. Let's walk through these conversationally because each one tells just a little piece of the story. So when we look at attachment, right, the central question is, do I belong? Attachment is the first teacher of purpose. When we're held and seen, when we're delighted in, we learn my being brings joy. I matter here. We learn that our purpose doesn't require us to do anything. It flows from us just being here. When attachment is inconsistent, we learn the opposite. I have to earn my belonging, or my worth is in what I do, or even other people's needs are more important than mine. We might find purpose in being good, obedient, making other people happy, getting good grades. We focus on the behaviors that keep us in connection with our caregivers. Gabor Mate, in his book, The Myth of Normal, says that when we're younger, we have both the need for authenticity and the need for connection. But when we're forced to choose, we will deny ourselves in order to maintain connection with our caregivers. We lose the essence of ourselves because we fear this disconnection. And we begin to find value in what we do to keep connection with our parents instead of actually staying connected to ourselves. And then purpose becomes performance. We also want to know, am I valuable? When esteem is wounded, purpose becomes our proof. If I accomplish enough, I'll feel like somebody. We look at two kinds of esteem when we're doing this work. We look at attribute esteem and performance or other-based esteem. And this is the idea that we look to something that we do or what others think of us to know if our life has purpose. We look at the outcomes to know if we're valuable. For example, if I was a counselor before I had done a significant portion of my work, I would have looked to people's approval in sessions in order to know if I was living my purpose. This would not only be detrimental to me, but also to my clients. I can say hard things because I believe my purpose comes from my unique calling toward this work, not from the approval or affirmation of others. Purpose doesn't require achievement. Purpose requires worthiness. Purpose grows in the soil of I am enough just because I exist. So boundaries, right? Where do I end and others begin? Without boundaries, it's nearly impossible to discern your purpose from the purposes others have written for you. This is an essential part of growing up. When we don't differentiate from our parents, we live in accordance with their purpose for us. This can then play out in other ways too. A lot of us might live out our parents' dreams, or our partners' or friends' expectations, or our culture's version of success. One of the things I'm recognizing about myself as I near 50 is that I have a specific passion for helping counselors become more aware of themselves in the counseling relationship. This is a new direction in a new season and is a branch of the practice that Ashley and I run together. She has other passions that will take her on another branch. We couldn't do this if we couldn't have boundaries with each other. Our hearts are similar, but they're not the same. Boundaries give purpose its shape. They let us say, that's not my path, but this is. And then we look at reality or the truth of our situations, right? Purpose requires honesty. Who am I really? What season am I in? What's possible right now? What's not possible? We can't step into purpose while living in a fantasy or in denial. But we also don't want to deny our deepest callings because of our circumstances. As you discover more about who you are, you may come across barriers. Obstacles are actually okay, but don't let these obstacles prevent you from continuing to pursue purpose. But also, don't blow through obstacles either. For example, part of what I feel passionate about is traveling to different colleges across the country and speaking to new graduate students. However, the reality is that I'm still parenting, and these responsibilities outweigh these dreams for myself. But I'm still finding ways to live out that purpose. It doesn't mean never. It just means not yet. Reality is grounding, and purpose needs grounding. So many people ask, can I need others, right? Purpose is not meant to be carried alone. This is deeply wired into us. Humans are interdependent creatures. People with stronger relational support systems are more likely to explore life direction, pursue meaning, and sustain purpose-driven goals. When we have support, we feel safe, and then we can move into our purpose. And then we have moderation or balance, right? Purpose isn't all or nothing. It's not hustle culture. It's not burnout, but it's also not just clock in and clock out. We all have something we're responsible for in this life. So while we don't want to get stuck in extreme striving, we don't want to rest in non-action. Moderation allows us to be relational, steady, rooted, and sustainable. A purposeful life isn't frantic or lazy. It's aligned. So this is the part that we often don't talk about. Purpose isn't just psychological, it's spiritual. Whether or not faith is part of your story, every human being asks, who am I? Why am I here? And does my life even matter? Purpose ties us back to something larger than ourselves, to God, to meaning, to love, to goodness, to the unfolding story of being human. Studies actually show that people who feel connected to something larger than themselves, God, community, nature, a mission, they have clearer purpose and higher resilience. Purpose expands when we can remember you weren't created randomly. Your life is not an accident, and your being carries meaning on its own. Purpose is that spiritual knowing that you belong in this world, you matter, and you're actually part of a bigger story. So here is the most hopeful part. Purpose is not something you chase. It's something that emerges as your core needs heal. As attachment mends, you'll get a greater sense of your authentic self and feel a sense of security in who you were created to be. As your esteem strengthens, you'll feel a sense of value and worth that isn't contingent on accomplishments or other people's opinions of you. As your boundaries get stronger, you'll have a better sense of where you begin and others end, and what is actually unique about you. Then you get the chance to protect that and grow even more into your sense of purpose. As your reality comes into focus, you can start to claim how you want to be in the world. As support becomes safe, you can rely on trusted others to help you cultivate your own sense of purpose in safe community. And as balance returns, you get a sense of a healthy balance of responsibility and rest in order to let your specific purpose move through and out of you. Purpose rises naturally. You don't have to force it. You just have to be present enough to notice it. Purpose isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's not always grand. And this actually is the hard part. The conversation that I have many times in my office is, but I'm just a mom. I'm just a cashier, or I just do administrative work. Ironically, even people who have higher paying jobs feel the same. I'm just a CEO of a tech company. How is that purpose? The thing is that our job or career isn't always purpose. It's who we are in the context of where we find ourselves. Most of the time, purpose might show up like this: a moment of tenderness with your child, a conversation where someone feels really seen and truly heard. It might be the work that feels like breathing. It might be the boundary that honors your body. It might be the creativity that bubbles up unexpectedly. Purpose is the flow of the real self. Purpose is what happens when you're connected. Purpose isn't a finish line. It's the way you walk. So, how do we practice purpose this year without the frenzy of January? Okay. First, I want you to pause before you plan anything. Let your body speak before your goals do. Okay? Set boundaries for yourself when you're feeling worn out or tired. Rest in order to settle into yourself. Ask yourself different questions. What brings me alive? What do I care about? And I love this one. What breaks my heart? What feels like freedom? What relationships of mine are calling me deeper? And what needs to heal before I move forward? Let purpose move at the pace of your nervous system. We don't have to rush into purpose. Rushing is not sustainable. How many of us have started something in January only to burn out by February? Pace is everything when it comes to purpose. Okay? Return to your core needs, right? Look at your attachment, how you're having healthy boundaries, how you value yourself. Okay? These shape your purpose more than any planner or goal setting session. Take a deeper look at some of these areas in your life. The healthier we are from a mental health perspective, the more direction we get with our passion and our purpose. And purpose thrives in community. You may ask some trusted others what they see in you. I started paying attention to what others were calling out in me and then began to be curious about it. This doesn't mean that I'm just doing what everybody else says. It just means that the people around us who care about us can sometimes see things we can't. And then I want you to practice balance. Let purpose breathe. Let it take shape on its own. One of the things I have the most trouble with is pace. When I feel passionate about something, I want to make it happen right now. This is not how purpose works. You might just take one step toward the thing that you're sensing movement toward. Purpose is a process when you are just embarking on the journey. So if you're in a place where you can, I just want you to place a hand over your heart. Take a long, slow breath. And hear this. You do not have to earn your purpose. You do not have to rush toward it. You do not have to perfect yourself to deserve it. Your existence holds meaning. Your presence carries weight. Your breath is evidence of purpose. You were created for connection to God, to yourself, to others. And as you return to that connection, your purpose will rise naturally, quietly, faithfully. You are here on purpose, and that is enough. Thank you for being here with me today, and I will see you next time on the Encountering You podcast.